Hi, Catello. Thank you
Hi.
so much for coming to the Investor Talk.
Nice to meet you, Max.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. So let's start giving an introduction of yourself, if you want.
My pleasure. So I'm Catello Somma, the associate at TVM Capital, company that I joined in January 2020 officially. And I'm a molecular biologist by training with an MBA. I started my career in academia, but I quickly jumped into the industry, working for some CROs, for biotechs, one of which I restructured as head of strategy and processes. And my area of action has been always Europe, right? For what concern this CRO and biotech job, although always working for international companies. Indeed, I moved to Switzerland 6 years ago to work for a Nasdaq-listed biotech, and there I was on clinical development, and then doing some preliminary work for in-licensing opportunity, and I also joined the Mass Challenge mentors group to advise on different companies, very early stage, a lot of them out of academia. And that got me excited about the startup ecosystem, especially on the financing and investing sides, right? I did myself a startup, right? But this was in Boston. And in January 2020, then I moved to Germany from Switzerland, and this is where I am today, right? Looking at the deal flow and deal making, and ultimately also portfolio managing, right? Together with the rest of the team.
Thank you, Catello. What about in Europe? Are you more focused in investing?
No, I have to say that the beauty of TVM is that being one of the oldest transatlantic fund, right now we have more than 20 years of existence here. We are investing across the globe. It depends really where the solid science, the solid companies or products are, right? And I'm based in Munich, but in fact, the team is always matched with the other office that we have in Canada, plus the other people that are working remotely for other areas, right?
So you are more a global venture capital.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about in terms of ticket? How much you normally invest?
We invest around 20 million US dollars, and our strategy is the following. Well, first, this is a life science fund, right? We do both therapeutics and the medtech digital diagnostics, right? And the fund number 8, the current one, has the size of $500 million US dollars, and is deployed according to the following strategy. For therapeutics, we go early, like preclinical stage, right? And we finance them through the completion of the phase 2A. Or we go very late. That means we are investing in companies with the phase 3 ready program, right? And we are financing really the go-to market, or in the past was really at least go to IPO, the IPO readiness. Now the market is a bit bearish, so we keep just the patience, and we wait for better time. But this is what we do. For medtech digital diagnostics, we are investing almost the same ticket size, but we step in once the company has the necessary regulatory de-risking, means the FDA clearance, the CE mark, and then is ready for the commercial rollout. Our contribution here is really to help the company growing towards the break even and ultimately to the exit, right?
I mean, where do you find conviction when you invest? I mean, and which are the top concerns for you?
That's a good question, Max, because especially now that we are living this Zoom era, right? The opportunities to meet companies, right, and really to get engaged with them, with their vision, and then after with a kind of business plan, let's say, is reversed, right? Because we jump from one call to another, right, and we can really close investments without seeing companies. Look at some extreme cases like COVID, right? We have been very active during the COVID period, and we were not allowed to travel or to host the CEOs or the teams, right, at our premises. So in this case, the conviction comes to the really to the solid product, if it's a medtech, digital or diagnostics, or the asset, right, the molecule and the mechanism of action, if it's therapeutics, and really the plan to execute the go-to-market, to reach the market or to reach the next inflection point if it's therapeutics, right? And then after you can use to the team, their track record, they real experience in doing what they are proposing us to do, right? Because I mean, we are giving them money, and then with the hope that they can execute on the business plan, right? And the other is, of course, the CEO is always a kind of an insurance, right? That the company that they are overseeing and they are managing is done properly because they went through this funnel several times, for example. But I prioritize personally, right? First is the product or the asset, then is the team who need to understand how to do that in the most efficient way and effective way, looking at the competition. And then after is also the CEO is a kind of cherry on the cake, if you wish, right?
Thank you. I mean, we are trying to get out from the pandemic, as you said before. Now is very common. Is not was not that much common before to having interaction on Zoom or any other video call, actually investing just over video calls. But how important is for you face to face when it comes investing money?
So I'm just out of bioequity route, which has been a big event for mainly for investors, right? And we all share the same feeling, more or less, that this kind of face-to-face meetings is crucial to keep the networking, the sharing our views and our sentiments, right, on how the market is moving forward, right, and how we can better predict the future moving forward. In terms of really scouting or sourcing deals or getting known with exciting technologies and products, not really, I have to say, right? Sometimes it's easier and more effectively, right, to grab the deal team that is now in different locations doing different things, right? And you can have them staying 30 minutes on the call and familiarizing with the innovation, for example, right? Then you are going to bake the deal in several reiterations. But it's important that you go straight into the project with the focus of your space. That could be your house, could be your office, could be, different locations, right? But so the conference sometimes can be very noisy, right? Look at JP Morgan, for example, or other summits for medtech, for example, or digital. So I think that is helping staying focused and listening really carefully, word by word, sentence by sentence, what the CEO is telling us. Right? This is powerful.
What happens after investing? That's before investments, but how often do you like to meet the founders, the CEO, the team after having invested?
Well, consider that as a TVM, we always take lead or co-lead position. That means that this will come with at least one board seat, sometimes two, right? And so we meet them at a specific cadence, right, on a quarterly basis for the board. Otherwise, there will be some get-together events in between, and yeah, a couple per year, I would say. So, I mean, we will have several touch points face to face, right? If we exclude now the pandemic, right? Because at that time also the boards, the board meetings were via Zoom, right? So we will have at least 6, 7 interaction per year, right? So with them, and always the good thing, but that TVMS, in my opinion, right, being a startup entrepreneur before, is that the CEOs can really pick up the phone and ask some specific questions, even if it's not specifically related to business plan or the company, but sometimes the context influence and impact a lot what's going on, right? For example, if we have Nasdaq listed companies or companies that wants to go IPO on Nasdaq, for example, this could be very tense time, right? So of course, I mean, it's not fixed that we meet them 2, 3 times before the investment and after doing the board, right? We can share our vision. We can listen sometimes, right? Because the VC has also the advantage of being a trusted source, right, of information, but also a good listener, right? So we listen to CEOs, their concerns in terms of the teams, in terms of some decision that they took, or how they feel, right? This is a kind of coaching, if you wish, right? That we can have on ad hoc basis.
I mean, how involved did you get with your portfolio? Be a lead investor. How do you add value to them?
Well, the lead investor is going to syndicate first. So our support starts really upfront sometimes, right? Because you have to bring on the other investors that have to understand and accept, embrace the vision of the founder in this case, right? And share our beliefs that this is going to be generating value and being a success, right? For both the company and the investors, right? And the second is we guide the CEO in order really to frame the right messages and the right nuances of the business plan, right, in a way that has sense for the stage the company is at the moment. For example, right, you can start trigger the use of proceeds could be spread across several activities, several prototypes, several next generation products if it comes to medtech, for example, right? But before to accept on that, we really want to challenge in a positive way the company, right? Before the term sheet, before the investment, before the syndicate, to understand are you sure that you can maximize the value generation if you spread your funding across several projects that we see the lights in the X amount of years, or is it that incremental or disruptive, right? We challenge in the positive way, and this is a help that we give basically to the CEO to get funded, right?
I mean, what about the next round? For example, in therapeutics, you get quite early, phase one. If and when the startup needs the subsequent round, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, do you get involved, helping them with introduction?
So in fact, as we operate, right, and we are investing more on a per project basis. So we are involved 100% in this kind of discussion, especially because we really identify the program that we want to stay focused on, right? So we discuss a lot in a very granular fashion, right? The pros and cons and the data, right? We go straight into the data for that. And in the end, is a board decision, right? What to do next, and the CEO is part of the board, right? Or the asset originator, if it's not the CEO, and this is a decision that we take together, but of course, baked by data, baked by the trends, baked by the possible demands, right, of a buyer, for example. When it comes to a late stage therapeutic, right, we are talking about companies that have the maturity, right, in terms of team, in terms of the data that they generated for the different programs, and really the kind of path forward that they want to achieve. So this is a kind of heavy lift on different fronts. There are multiple stakeholders, not just shareholders involved, right? So this process is long, right, as you can expect, and is addressing several variables, right, all equally important: banks, the programs, the team, the kind of the window of the opportunity that you have to move forward, or sometimes is really okay. What could be the scenario, right? The likely scenario in order to have this readout to answer these scientific questions within that time in this specific population of patients, right? So I mean, this is really a complex case that will take months sometimes, right?
How do you expect your investments to help your portfolio? Shouldn't have some kind of interaction?
Well, you mean the synergies across the portfolio
Yeah,
companies?
yeah.
This is always possible because I mean every VC has a kind of more or less formal portfolio strategy, right? It depends on the stage of the VC, depends on the kind of niche they want to play within, right? But everybody has in mind where they want to invest, right? That is not just I'm going into cardiovascular for medtech, I'm going into companion diagnostics, right? Or sample prep for diagnostic and tools, for example, or for therapeutics, I'm going in oncology or in immunology, right? So it's more about if I'm investing, for example, in therapeutics. I mean, I have in my mind the molecular pathway. I know where there could be the crosstalks and the loops, and or which kind of indication I could serve, right? And at the same time, if this could work for some other, for a different therapeutic area sometimes, right? I mean, you have a typical case of JAK inhibitors, for example, that works in rare disease as well as in dermatology very well, right? And also in this is something that perhaps you don't have in the same company, the same expertise, but is in your other portfolio company, and that the synergy here is it's really seamless, right? Because they can strike deals, and they can ensure that you maximize the value of the asset. For medtech, I mean, of course, it's also possible. We have some ideas on how to do that, but is everybody looks like that is aware that if you have a kind of biomarker, right, or in silico approach that you can serve the MRI kind of the imaging industry, for example. You have a company that is relying a lot on imaging as endpoint, for example. I mean, the synergy is there, right? So absolutely we do. Well, we encourage if the question is also how pushy we are on these synergies, not really, because you also want to have the company that can see the opportunity there, right? And same is happening for the other VCs, as far as I know, right? So that it's not that you invest into something because you know that tomorrow you are going to merge on make synergies out of the different portfolio companies, right? I mean, otherwise, why don't you invest straight on in something that has all the pieces together, right? Because I see this as a bit of borderline in the gray zone, right? Because otherwise, why you invest twice in something that could give you the best if it's in the same box, right?
Hey, what's your advice to founders when it comes to pivoting? Sometimes they perceive pivoting like failure, but if does work, they should pivot.
You're right. So pivoting has two meanings to me. Pivoting means that you can be disruptive, so you should go for it. Pivoting means that you go for prime time or you go out. Same thing. You can do that, and you should do that, especially if you are within the VC kind of space, right? Because this is what we are looking for, right? So, and if you go for incremental innovation or you go for some leader micro niches, right? Or you are too far from your goal. I mean, first you should leverage on some other source of financing and expertise in order to come prepared for prime time, right? And at this time you pivot, right?
This is personal. Why do you become an investor?
Because I always wanted to see the value generation out of an innovation that could be a product or a molecule, right? Or a digital product, right? In that case, or software. So this is what is exciting me. So backed by solid data and team, right? And with a clear path forward. And then I love to support the companies, the CEOs, in order in their journey through the inflection point. That could be an exit or to go public, or sometimes it's the next financing round. Yeah.
I mean, you see so many decks, you talk to so many founders, you need to analyze so many business plan, idea, execution, whatever it is. But in the end of the day, you need to decide, right? So, which are the critical points that trigger your decision to invest? The day when you say, okay, I want to go with these guys and not with this one. And maybe they're similar.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, which has a kind of a standard answer as a VC, but I can count on some nuances, right, from my personal experience. So, and you're right. I mean, we see many decks that more than 1,000 opportunities per year is a fact, right? Out of these, there is the usual 20% that can mature, and then you decide on which one you can place your bets, right? In the end, for based on the different decisions, right? That is the market, the kind of fit for as a product to be disruptive, right? And always the kind of excitability that you have on each project, even if you step in very early, right? You always have this exit in mind, right? So I think that what is exciting me the most, and this is what I immediately search when I look at decks or have intro calls, right, with the companies, it's really okay. I mean, this is the market. I mean, if I open your email, I see the subject that they are doing something for prostate cancer or doing something for I don't know, imaging, whatever, right? I have in mind the market size. Then if I open the slide deck, right, or you give me the summary, I can refine the TAM and and all the other the served cases. In the end, I can come with a number more or less, right? But in the end, let's say this one is a quick one, the market fit. The product fits, again, I mean, for therapeutics, it's sometimes it's easier, right? Because we see so many of those, right? And I have a scientific background. This is a life science driven VC, right? So, I mean, for therapeutics, first in class, best in class. I mean, there are some checks that we do right immediately, right? So what is exciting me is on the novelty of the target and really on the strengths that the compound has in order to show that you know can provide an effect in a safe way, right, in a target population, right? This is what is exciting me and what I'm looking for. Then on the other end, I mean, if it's a medtech, for example, what I want to see is the need that you have, right? What is the standard? How you can stand up of the competition? Because oftentimes you are playing in a very consolidated market, right? So the differentiation is the key, right, of the product. So good product and differentiation, and then the others will come. For diagnostics, really is the characteristics, the specs around if it's an assay, specificity and sensitivity, for example. Then also you have to show me, which kind of data you generated so far, right? So I mean, is very much data driven. If it's for example, for tools, right? This has to be really outstanding because, and how you can really ensure that you can have a final viable product, right? Given that you are, for example, a prototype stage and you need certain number of validations, right, before to come to that point. Especially if sometimes is for with a digital component on this is pure digitech, right? You really need to understand, okay, the product, how quick you can reach the market, which kind of critical mass you have to reach in order to become, appealing for a client, and then after for a buyer, right? That could strike some collaboration deals also early on, right?
Maybe there is not one, but what can be the perfect recipe for a great pitch to convince you?
Yeah, look, I mean, it should be data driven, right? Based on evidence. So you identify the problem and the solution, right? So as I said, as we are not a generalist, right? So you are playing in our court in a way, right? So you say that's the issue that is around. This is the solution that I found, right? These are this is my hypothesis. These are the data that are using the standard validation tools or models, right? To stay generic here, to reach the outcome. This is the outcome, or this is the plan for me to reach this outcome, right? So rather than that, the rest is okay. The team, this is what is doing. We already got awards left and right. Yeah, but as a first call, let the data speaks for you, right? This is my recommendation. So few slides, right? More than 10. If you have 20, I'm fine. Put in the backup, right? Perhaps I'm going to read it, but data.
What about any suggestion to founders when approaching a VC? How they should approach a VC?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's a good one because it's a tricky one. So first, people should understand that not always the managing partner is the person that you want to reach out in a context of a platform like this matching platform that we have before the companies and so on, right? Oftentimes, if you want to get a quick answer or you want to be exposed to the disease, I mean, you should target also the rest of the team, or at least you stay more focused based on our social presence, the board coverage, or perhaps word of mouth from other CEOs, right? Or the panels that we are recording, for example. I mean, you can be more targeted, right? To say, I saw you here and there. I think that you spoke about this piece, or you invest in this company. I looked at your portfolio, right? So this is intriguing the investor per se, right? Or you simply, if you think it's outstanding, I mean, in your message, you send an email to us, for example, even to our info mailbox, and you say, this is the company. I'm doing this, and that. I'm at this stage, right? I have that patent intellectual property protection, and I need this money to reach this inflation point. I hope you can help, right? So
What
used to be
about IP?
what about, sorry?
How important is IP for you to invest?
Well, it's mandatory, right? Aspect. So if you don't have it, if you don't have strong IP, I'm sorry, it's a big issue. You should go back and work on an IP.
Let me close with this one. In your territory, therapeutics, medtech, uh, what exactly, in your opinion, will be the best and most promising vertical to start a venture in the coming years?
So yeah, the one where you are solid. I mean, if you want to start a venture, don't go based on the excitement around something, right? But go do the best out of what you know and what you are able to do, right? That's my recommendation.
Catello, thank you so much for coming to the Investor Talk. It's been a very great pleasure for me.
My pleasure. Likewise. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.